In today's video, I'll be showing you the hidden cost of working past 60 and why it's much worse than you might think. Over my years helping hundreds of people plan their dream retirement, I've seen firsthand the impact that working past age 60 can have on your retirement. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, to make you aware of this cost and show you how you can use this knowledge to build your dream retirement. Let's get right into it. One of the most striking patterns I've discovered in helping clients plan for retirement is what I would call the hidden cost of working past 60. It's a financial and lifestyle penalty that most people don't even factor into their retirement decisions. It's a game changer when you see it, and it's something that I wish most folks understood before they hit that milestone. Now, the hidden cost of working past age 60 is a collection of the financial, health, and lifestyle penalties that people pile up when they delay retirement unnecessarily. And not because they have to, but because anxiety drives them to keep going. And these costs often outweigh the benefits of working longer, yet they're completely overlooked in conventional retirement discussions. So I'll break it down for you and why it matters so much for your plan. First, let's talk about the quantifiable financial costs of working those extra years. I'll tell you about a client I had named Tom, 62-year-old accountant who was dead set on working 2 more years to secure his retirement. He figured more paychecks would equal a bigger peace of mind, but when we sat down and modeled it out, we factored in things like taxes, missed Roth conversions, and lost Social Security optimization. And those 2 years only boosted his retirement income by $300. That's $300 a month for 2 years of his life. He was stunned, and honestly, I was pretty surprised as well, and as are most people when they see the real numbers broken down. This gets overlooked because traditional financial and retirement advice is laser focused on the benefits of accumulating your funds, having more years and more savings without showing you the other side of the ledger. And then there's another factor of declining health returns of working more and more years versus just retiring. So picture this: you're grinding away at your age 65 and you're stressed from deadlines when you could be easing into a life that lets your body actually recover. And research actually backs us up. There's a study from social science and medicine that found each year that you retire earlier reduces your risk of cardiovascular disease thanks to lower stress and more time for self-care. And here's the kicker. This point rarely comes up because the healthcare industry and the retirement planning industry live in completely separate worlds, and people miss out on the documented health benefits retirement can deliver when you time it right, and the disconnect costs people big. So next to analyze is the opportunity cost of those prime health years that you're spending working. Your early 60s are your last best shot at peak physical capability. This is things like hiking through national parks, or playing with your grandchildren, or finally taking that dream trip to Italy you've been talking about. I've seen clients like Sarah who worked until her late 60s only to realize that her knees couldn't handle the travel that she had planned, unfortunately. Dollars come and go, but years are non renewable. And our society's obsession with productivity and personal fulfillment pushes us to trade them away without a second thought. It's this cultural bias I think America has that keeps us chained to our desk when we could be really living. And finally, there are some diminishing financial returns of working longer and longer you need to know. After age 60, these extra years don't pack the punch that you think they would. The example that I shared with Tom's $300 a month boost is a perfect example. Just 2 more years of work was just a fraction of what he imagined it would pay off for him. And I see this all the time where clients push retiring from 65 to 68 only to see this tiny bump to their nest egg. And you might ask, why is this ignored? Well, it's because conventional retirement calculators use these linear projections, assuming that every single year adds the same value, when in reality, the marginal utility of those extra years just drops off a cliff. It's a flawed tool that misleads people into overworking. And these hidden costs don't just sit there, they translate directly into tangible retirement regrets that I see over and over among those who have worked past their optimal retirement age. So let's look at a deeper look at that pattern now. To start, here's a sobering stat. New York Life did a study where they discovered that over 48% of those who retire between 62 and 70 wish they had done so sooner. And on average, those same people wish they had retired a full 4 years earlier than they actually did. It's a common heartache that I see even with my own clients, but it's totally preventable with the right planning. And sadly, retirement satisfaction studies like these don't make the news because they make more money by giving you headlines about being fearful of running out of money instead. That's what gets them the eyeballs. What else they won't tell you is that these time decisions at this stage are very urgent because they're final. You can always go back to work part-time if money gets tight, but you can't rewind the clock and reclaim your health or energy. So, for example, I had a client, we'll call her Linda, who missed her grandkids' early years just waiting for that perfect moment to retire. And she still tells me to this day how that loss haunts her more than any budget cut ever would. I think human nature overlooks this because we naturally discount future joy for present security. It's this psychological bias that robs us of what matters most. And timing isn't just about money, it's about life satisfaction. You want to retire when you're still vibrant and you get to have years of freedom and purpose. Otherwise, you're waiting too long and you're stuck with the inevitable what ifs. Research continues to show us how this link is real, where retirees who time it right report higher happiness tied to health and relationships, and not just because they have a bigger bank balance for whatever reason. And to that point, satisfaction is a pretty subjective means to know when it is best to retire, leaving us chasing numbers instead that we can track instead of actual fulfillment. Now, understanding why these hidden costs are systematically overlooked requires examining on a deeper level the belief system that drives people to delay retirement. And I'll show you a few of the most common ones I see. First is the one more year mentality trap. Clients tell me all the time, all this feels safer if I just go one more year. But you already know it. One more year turns into two, and then three, and five, and suddenly someone's worked another decade that they've lost living up in retirement. And although this feels rational to stack a bit more cash, it compounds into missed opportunities because we overestimate what that extra time could buy us. The second one is the safety illusion, where thinking that continuing to work keeps you secure with that steady paycheck. And I get it, it's comforting. But here's the truth: with a smarter plan, with strategic investments, optimizing your social security, and with a solid withdrawal strategy, you can replicate that same peace of mind without the 9 to 5 stress. That safety, I would have to tell you, is more in your head than in your wallet. And the illusion is what keeps people tethered to jobs that they really don't need. And the next is what I would call the identity crisis. For example, was a client of mine, a dentist for over 30 years. We'll call him Mark. And his whole world was built around, well, fixing teeth, helping people, and leading his robust team. And he was really worried that retiring would mean stripping all that away. But when he did step back at age 64 to retire, he dove into mentoring young dentists and even getting into woodworking, rediscovering a passion he had forgotten. You got to keep in mind, retirement isn't a finish line, it can be a launch pad. And finally, I can't forget the success trap, especially for those high achievers. These folks, often doctors, executives, and entrepreneurs, thrive on winning so much that they keep pushing even when they know that the returns keep shrinking. They don't see the plateau often, though, because their drive blinds them to the fact that work isn't adding more life to their balance sheet. It's a mindset that's tough to shake, but it's costing years for them that they can't get back. Now, before I move on, I know a lot of this information can be surprising, especially when it's so widely circulated. So if you're concerned about how you've been planning, check out the first link in the description to complete a complimentary questionnaire. Afterward, I'll send you a personalized video showing you how you can properly prepare for your retirement based on your individual situation. Now, let's tackle in some big misconceptions that mess up people's retirement timing. And first is the health reality gap. Your health doesn't care if you're continuing to work. It will likely plateau in your early 60s, then decline, and sometimes it happens fast. Most planning ignores this biological clock, acting like you're going to just stay spry forever. And the misconception in health in retirement is that it follows a linear, predictable path. We assume that our health is just going to fade off slowly and predictably, but as you may have seen among friends or other family members, it's not a straight line. One day someone may be fine, but next your back is completely out, or you, heaven forbid, have a surprise visit to the ER, which can literally change your retirement plans overnight in some cases. And here's the irony. In your 60s, when retirement hits, that's often your peak active years, perfect for biking, gardening, or traveling. And when you're delaying that, you're kind of literally trading gold for dust. This health reality gap is compounded by a fundamental misunderstanding about the financial factors of working more and more. So let's unpack that. So you see, we're obsessed with maxing out our savings, but that doesn't mean more is better. Extra years often deliver less than you'd hope. That my example with Tom earlier with $300 more a month throughout retirement showcases that how this chase pretty much falls flat on its face. And the math is clear. Post age 60, each year's financial value drops. Working from 65 to 68 might sound smart, but it's a declining proposition that most people actually don't go through the motions to calculate. Taxes can hit really hard. When you're jumping into higher tax brackets, you're jacking up your Medicare premiums, and you're losing other subsidies. And while your gross paycheck may look nice, the net tells a different, uglier story. It's ironic how I see some people giving up early retirement's tax perks, like Roth IRA conversions, filling up lower tax brackets at a discount, or harvesting capital gains tax free because they just chase these tiny savings bumps. It's a trade off that sacrifices these big wins for smaller gains. And furthermore, beyond these practical misconceptions, there's a deeper psychological disconnect that affects retirement satisfaction. And I want to dive into that for you. First, satisfaction hinges just as much on timing as money. Retire while you're still kicking, and life feels a lot richer. Piling up cash too long, and it can feel like you're Scrooge McDuck, and it's really hollow. There's a study from BMC Geriatrics in 2002 where they found how retirement literally boosts satisfaction, especially when your health feels shaky. Humans are adapt to less cash, but not less years. In fact, past having enough, extra dollars really benefited people's mood. Once the needs are met, the utility of having more and more savings really tanks. And I see this with the clients I work with every day. Many of them, I can't even get them to spend the money that they've amassed over a lifetime. And as you can tell, there's an asymmetry to this problem. If you retire early, you can always tweak the budget and adapt. But if you retire late, you miss out on life, and that regret hits way harder than being on the too late side. The risks aren't balanced. These reality gaps reveal something surprising about retirement that actually determines what the optimal time is and what your best satisfaction rate will be. And I'll get to the evidence for you. There's a study by Social Science and Medicine showing how early retirement cuts stress-related health risks, improving both the quantity and quality of your years. And while you can earn more money later in life, either by working part-time, optimizing your investments, or Social Security plan, you can't buy back your 60s, or else you'd see all the billionaires be 27 years old. One thing that I have to often remind my clients is that maximizing your savings is not the goal. Enough is the goal. Again, you should be wanting to work smarter, not harder, and you do so by figuring out what you do need, what you can hoard. In fact, working smarter can mean leveraging tax strategies to minimize what I see retirees' single largest expense being taxes. And the strategy can outpace even working for extra years. Perhaps what is most revealing is what you can learn from those who have already navigated the transition to retirement. In a video I've done previously, I dove into a Wall Street article where they interviewed people in their 80s and 90s about their biggest retirement regrets. And then I even dove into the hundreds of comments on that article to see what else people said about their retirement regrets. And interestingly, those that say they retired too early dwarf those who say that they retire too late. These missed years cut deeper than any budget tweaks. Going back to that 2002 BMC geriatric study, they found that we're wired to adjust to financial shifts pretty fast, where we can cut our budget a bit and we'll barely notice after a few months. But losing time, that's completely different. Losing those years with family or hobbies, and that regret lingers with people and it's heavy and a permanent emotion. Work for too long and you're trading purpose for paychecks. This research points to a transformative approach to retirement timing, one that can fundamentally change how you think about your final working decade, and I call it the optimal retirement balance. And the optimal retirement balance takes care of three things: your peak health years, your financial sufficiency, and emotional readiness. It's not about maxing out one single thing, but blending all three. This explains why you see many early retirees glowing. They're hitting their health, money, and mindset all at the right time, while latecomers to the game lament over the lost years they could have had. And those financial only planners, they fail every time. It's like baking a cake with just flour. No sugar, no eggs, just a dry mess. Conventional retirement planning zeroes in on the size of your nest egg, but skips the health and readiness aspects of it, leaving you rich on paper, but regretful in life. It's just too narrow of a lens for a decision this big. So a balanced optimization beats maximization hands down. It's life focused, not just dollar driven. And traditional planning says, well, more is better, right? But the balanced approach says that enough is perfect. And that's the edge that changes everything. Success isn't maximum savings anymore. It's about optimal life value. You want to think less about the account balances you have and more about the time with your grandkids, sunsets on a beach, or just mastering that guitar riff that you've always wanted to play. This holistic approach wins because it's tailored to you, not some generic formula from some financial magazine. It weaves in your health, wealth, and dreams into a plan that's uniquely yours, making retirement not just sustainable, but truly fulfilling. And now that you've seen how this information can impact your retirement, let's look at how you can use these lessons to optimize your retirement plan. So, first, you need to conduct a health timeline assessment. This means you need to sit down and assess your health. How's your energy? How's your family's longevity, your genetics? If your parents thrived into their 90s, awesome. If not, got to plan accordingly. How many active years do you really have left? Second, you need to create a financial enough analysis. And this is ditching those arbitrary financial targets. You need to calculate what you actually want to spend monthly, factoring your lifestyle needs and your needs and wants, not just some guru's $2 million myth benchmark. You actually might be a lot closer than you think. And third, you should implement what I would call a life to value maximization strategy. This is simply you just sitting down, thinking really hard about what lights you up. Is it travel, volunteering, learning new hobbies? And you need to find a way to schedule those things into your early retirement years. You don't want to slip them away. And fourth, you should have a strategic drawdown plan. This involves mapping out your withdrawals from your nest egg, mapping out Roth conversions if they're applicable to you, and making sure your Social Security timing is best so you can slash your taxes and stretch your savings. Again, working smarter, not longer. And finally, I want to share with you some of the biggest mistakes I see that people make when trying to navigate this hopefully once in a lifetime decision. So, first, they're using these financial metrics and ignoring health. Money is useless if you're too frail to enjoy it. Next, they overestimate what the extra years add after they're age 60. The example with Tom's extra $300 a month throughout retirement shows that more really means less. Next, not calculating after tax value of continuing to work versus the strategic timing of retirement. The gross high paychecks lie and the net gains actually tell the truth. Next fallacy I see people make is assuming that their health is going to stay steady through 60s and 70s, and many times that's a rude awakening. Next, you need to not overlook the tax advantage of actually retiring early with Roth conversions or filling up low tax brackets. And next, I see people following generic advice, whether they're what their neighbor did or some random article. You need to personalize that number. And as I mentioned at the beginning, a big mistake I see is delaying out of fear. Fear is a lousy advisor. Clarity and planning are what should be able to give you that confidence to make the leap to retirement. Now, here's for some exciting news. Think about the potential outcomes when you have all of this put together. You could gain back 3 to 5 extra years in your prime, hiking, traveling, living all out. Next, you could have greater lifetime satisfaction, actually getting out of your money what it was designed for in the first place. And next, you can have reduced health regrets. Retire before you have a decline and not after, and skip the if only blues. Next, you could have smarter retirement tax planning, so you can maximize your income, potentially adding tens of thousands of dollars of income over your retirement. So now you understand why the hidden costs of working past 60 often exceed the benefits, and how optimizing your retirement timing requires balancing health, finances, and emotional readiness rather than just maxing out your savings. If you'd like to learn how these principles apply to your specific situation and optimize your retirement timing, find the link in the description to fill out a questionnaire I've created. And after, I'll send you a personalized video highlighting any areas of opportunity with some actionable steps that you can take to secure a fulfilling retirement. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.